What's up, everyone? We're here on a Tuesday because of NCAA tournament, but we're up to another episode of This Brother Talks, where I just give my opinion and thoughts on the things that's going on in the sports world. I pick a few topics and I go from there, and I talk about it and give my opinion on it. For those who tune in, want to say thank you for checking it out. Continue to check us out every Monday, but with the NCAA tournament, it may change a little bit. I don't want to conflict because I know I like to watch the games also. But we're just going to jump straight into it because this one probably won't be very, very long because it's a Tuesday and, it's kind of, I ain't going to say rush, but it needs to be, kind of quick and fast. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the Deshaun Watson scandal. So far, I had 12 lawsuits against Deshaun Watson. A lot of people have their own opinions on everything. The first one started they got one for March 2021, say he was touching the woman with his penis and exposing himself. And on June 20th, June 2020 and August 2020, sort of kind of the same thing. And now one is claiming sexual assault. The biggest issue I have with it is the timing. The timing is very, very, very interesting because it's during a time when he asked for a trade. He doesn't want to be in Houston anymore. And all of a sudden, all of these allegations come out. And a lot of people, me personally, I think it's one of the biggest smear jobs in the NFL. This is what my opinion on it is. This guy hasn't had any type of incidents like this ever. And all of a sudden, all of these women start coming out of the woodworks. And I could be wrong, but I think it has a lot to do with him wanting out of Houston. So a lot of people say, they're just trying to get his draft value down. I mean, not his draft value, his trade value down. So, they don't have to give as much up for him or somebody, just be willing to take him like, as a bad seed. But it's bigger than that to me. I feel like this is what it all boils down to. It boils down to, yes, it's been a smear job, but at the same time, they're not just trying to get his trade value down. They're trying to recoup this money that they're going to lose from, paying him X amount of dollars for whatever. This is a thing for the NFL to go and investigate and then find a way where they can get that bonus money back or signing bonus money back because he did something that, conduct is detrimental to the team, conduct detrimental to the NFL, so in my opinion, this is what it all boils down to. And all of a sudden, it just comes up that this guy is doing all types of things. And then this is the biggest thing right here. All of these things were in the statute of limitation. Why hadn't any female pressed charges for like sexual assault? It's a civil lawsuit. So everybody's going out the money. That's what it all boils down to. And if anybody thinks that this is not an inside job, then you need to take a look at yourself, because this guy who has done things the right way throughout his whole career, not just NFL, college, high school, he's been a stand-up guy. He's done so much for, the city of Houston on and off the football field. And all of a sudden now it boils down to money, silver suits, not anything that's going to say, well, we're going to put you in jail. No, we want money. That's what we want. And if anybody believes this, then you need to take a look at yourself, because the writing's on the wall. Like, it's clear as day that they're going after this man to smear his name. Hopefully the NFL will get involved and the owners can get their money back. That's what it all boils down to. They can say they don't have nothing to do with it. And then coincidentally, the guy that is who is the lawyer, which I can't remember his name, really doesn't matter to me, but he stays on the same street in the same neighborhood as the owners of the team say they don't know each other or none of that stuff. There's one thing I know. You might not know everybody on your street. You might not, but I know one thing. If I see my neighbor somewhere out in public, I know who the hell they are, especially one that holds a lot of credibility. Who doesn't know owners? That's one thing about it. Like if you live in a certain city, you're going to know the owner of your team, especially if you're a sports fan. Plain and simple. At the end of the day, what this boils down to, this is just a mere smear job of a guy who just doesn't want to be with a team. And all of a sudden, all these massage therapists are saying that he did this and did that, and not going after him for criminal charges. They're going after him for civil. And most of the time, civil lawsuits are after the criminal charges if the person is found, not guilty or something like that. Then you go, oh, we're going to go civil suit so I can get something in return for it. And at the end of the day, you can say what you want to say. The owners have something to do with this. I wasn't there doing his massages and all that good stuff, but I have had a massage before. And I do know basically you do take off all your clothes and you put a towel around you, or you put some, or you put a sheet or something around you. So, and then for all of them verbatim to have the exact same story, that don't throw up a red flag to any of y'all. It's just ridiculous what they're trying to do to this young man. And, if we come to find out that he did do this, I'll be the first to say that I was wrong, but I don't believe this is true. I don't believe that he's this type of person. And I think that the team is the owners. They're wrong for this. At the end of the day, they're completely wrong. Trying to smear this guy's name, just trade the guy, let him leave. I mean, just like you did JJ Watt. He come in, asked to be released. You release him, no problem. No questions asked, and Deshaun Watson asked a long time ago, you trading everybody except him. But now we got this smear job, women talking about he groped them, and my thing is, if he did it, why did you go back and massage him again? And this is one thing that I know, and this is just me and how I handle things. It's just like a haircut to me. Whenever I go to the barbershop, when I was going to the barbershop, I wasn't going to this barbershop, that barbershop, this barbershop, that barbershop. I wasn't doing all of that. Once I found somebody to cut my hair and cut my hair right, that's where I went to. And that's the same thing with a massage. If I go to a massage parlor, if I go get manicures, pedicures, anybody know that you try to use the same people over and over again. You're not just going to these different massage parlors just to say, oh, I'm going to this one, I'm going to that. Once you find something good, you sort of kind of stick to it. And then truth be told, like a lot of these guys don't even have to ask for it. They can get it, no problem. So I don't get the gist of this. I just don't get it, besides them trying to smear this young man's name. When it's all said and done, I hope that he's able to clear his name, which this will be the only problem. It will be every time somebody think of him, they're going to think about this scandal and wonder if it's true or if it's not true. And that's what I hate about this whole situation. And yeah, TC, I agree. Like I think it's the team, and why now? Why now? And when it all boils down to, it's all about that almighty dollar. That's what it's about. It's about that dollar. And so, we're going to see what's going to happen and how everything unfolds. And from my understanding, he got a pretty decent lawyer. So we're going to see how this lawyer handles everything. Like I got a feeling that some stories going to start changing after a while. And I feel like if this is not true, then these women should be held accountable, because you just can't continue to smear somebody's name and make up stuff. And then if it has something to do with the owners and they paying them and all that good stuff, then they need to be held accountable also. And so, I just say, everybody, hope for the best, pray for this young man. Hopefully, everybody involved, it works out for everybody. And so we're going to move on right along. We're going to move on to our next topic. Our next topic is going to be March Madness. And I'll tell you this right here. March Madness has lived up to the hype. I know last week we talked about it and we were saying how it was going to be some upsets, and lo and behold, there's been a lot of upsets. Like honestly, it's the year of the mid-major. But with me, I don't consider majors and mid majors anymore, because I think the playing field is even now. There's no more powerhouses. I feel like guys feel like they can sign scholarships and go somewhere that is not as big and still make an impact and beat some of these bigger schools that have been dominating for years and years and years. And I think we had 5 double-digit C's to advance. And it's actually been some good games, and nobody has a perfect bracket. Like, them brackets are all screwed up. And it's great to see schools like Loyola Chicago and Oral Roberts and teams like that. But I mean, I watched some games, and I was able to watch Gonzaga, which is the number 1 overall seed, and they're really tough. Gonzaga's tough. They play together. They defend, and I think Gonzaga has turned themselves into like one of those big name schools that can recruit and all of that good stuff. Michigan is another one. They're really good. And it was tough to see Kansas go out the way they did. Carolina went out the way they did. It was just tough. Like, I felt like some of them schools, they got in just by winning some games towards the end. I felt like the committee felt like, well, we put some of these teams in. You can help out with money, with ratings and all that good stuff. But I was gonna watch all of them regardless, because I wanted to see the difference in the schools and the talent. And this is one thing that I've said, and some of you follow me. You may not follow me on this right here, but whenever you're dealing with major schools like the Kentuckys and the Carolinas and all that good stuff, they have a lot of money. Their budget is huge, and it has something to do with them playing on TV, their alumni, all that good stuff. They can do some stuff. They can do some stuff that a lot of mid majors can't do. Like, they can keep their kids, over the summer, work them out, and they get all that time and stuff in. And now with COVID, this is my opinion, everybody's playing field is level, because you couldn't do all the extra and that you used to do. Everybody had just about the same amount of time, because you had so many different reasons not to be in the gym. You had to shut down sometime because you might have had contact tracing or anything like something like that. And so I think when the player field is level, everybody's getting the same treatment, then you see some of these mid-majors players be just as good as these big-time schools, and you see the coaches showing that they can really coach. And it just goes to show me, like, I've never been a fan of John Calipari. It just showed that, his deficiencies in coaching. This year, everybody made up excuses talking about Duke was young. I think it showed Coach K's deficiencies in coaching. I mean, granted, they both have won a lot of games. They won national championships, but I felt like it showed a lot of their deficiencies, and it shows the strengths of a lot of these other coaches. I'm having a good time watching the games. I'm excited for the Sweet 16. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. Like, for once, we're having a situation where we really don't know who's going to win the national championship. Like, Gonzaga looks good, Michigan looks good, but anybody could get knocked off at any given time. All it takes is one bad game. That's all it takes. And so we're just looking forward to next week, and anybody bracket that's busted, I hope you guys go and do that second chance bracket, because I know I'm going to get in it, because mine is just all jacked up right now. I still have, a few few of them that I got some things that's gonna go on if certain people win national championship and stuff. My bracket will play itself out, but for the most part, I'm gonna do a second chance bracket because mine is really bad. After day one, man, all those upsets, it was just crazy. But I just enjoyed it and been seeing some good basketball. You've seen a lot of players that you hadn't seen before just go out there and ball and just have a good time. So I'm happy to see March Madness back. I'm happy to see some of these other teams that's playing pretty well and teams that we haven't had a chance to see, just go out and ball the way they've been balling. All right, and so we're gonna move next to our next topic. Our next topic is, and I didn't come up with just one particular person to talk about whenever it comes to Women History Month, because I just wanted to salute all the women in sports today. They play a big part in everything that we do. Like, I got to watch some of the women's tournament also. Really good games there. Theirs is more so. It's more predictable in the women's field, but at the same time, you still good basketball. You had a couple of upsets, and but for the most part, the women in sports, like, I applaud the WNBA for what they do. The WNBA has come a very, very, very long way. I mean, we started out with these ladies playing 25, 35 games a year, making $20,000, $25,000 a year. And it really wasn't a lot of money, but they kept striving, they kept pushing, and their revenues have gone up. Now, I say it all the time, we could support them a little bit more, and get their revenues up some more, like, buy their jerseys, go to games, just do little things, to help their revenues and stuff go up. But, now they're making, in the hundreds of thousands, they're in the six figures now. And, sometimes you got to crawl before you walk, but that's steps in the right direction. They're moving in the right direction, and that's a good thing. And then you have to salute all the women tennis players. It's so many of them that you can name that keep you interested in watching tennis. All the female soccer players, the track and field, Alex Felix, and all of them. Like, you just have to tip your hat off to them, because it's a joy to watch. And yeah, Andre, I think that's you're right. I've seen some of them at 250. It just depends on what player and stuff it is, because I think somebody like a Sue Bird is making pretty close to that. And so it's just good to see that their revenues and everything's going up. Could it be more? Yes. How is it going to get there? It's going to take us. Just like we go and support men, we need to start supporting women. And like I'll tell you, if you sit down and just get over dunking and athleticism, you'll get so much more out of women's basketball. And then tennis, for example. I mean, you watch the guys serve, Serena and Osaka, they serve just as fast and just as hard as the men, Venus, all of them. So, I mean, you go and watch it, and you gotta pay attention to the fundamentals and not just pay attention to the athleticism. I heard Shaq made a comment the other day talking about dropping the women's basket down to 9 feet so they can start dunking and this, that, and the third. I don't watch women's basketball to watch them. If somebody dunk, I'll be happy to watch them dunk. But I don't want to just see women's basketball go to shit like men's, because they don't work on fundamentals. The minute that you start, doing that, it takes away a lot of the fundamentals. And like in the men's sports, a lot of men don't have great fundamentals. They're athletic, and that's what it is at the end of the day. And so, Andre, that's a good question. If I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong, it's somewhere or another that it's the NBA is helping the WNBA out, because they're kind of being brought together. I think is two leagues, but they're kind of one and the same. And so I think I think they do. I'm gonna have to do my research on it, so I'm not telling you wrong, but I think that they do kind of help out, to make sure that their pay and stuff is good. Yeah, some already dunking. I mean, but I don't feel like the TC that like Shaq said that the rims need to be dropped down to 9 feet. I don't. I feel like that was disrespectful whenever he said that, because you didn't have Lisa Leslie dunking a WNBA game. You had Candace Parker dunking a college game, and she may have dunked in a WNBA game. I can't remember or not, but I mean, somebody like her, she says she's her next daughter is gonna be drop step dunking. And I can't wait to see that. Like, yeah, I like that. TC, keep it at 10 feet. Like, don't go making concessions just so you can say that the women are dunking. The athleticism is coming, but the difference between them and us, their fundamentals is going to always be there, because they can't do like the crazy dunks and stuff like that. So yeah, man, yeah, TC, I agree that it was very sexist. I totally agree, and he shouldn't even think like that. I don't even know why he thinks like that. And so, but shout out to all the women in sports. Whenever it comes to Women History Month, this is the last week before we move into another month to talk about women in sports, and just I hope a lot of them just keep making a legacy and keep doing their thing, and us, we just need to support them, plain and simple. All right, so our next thing we're gonna go to is we're gonna talk about the NBA power rankings, and I'm not gonna stay on this very long, because I mean we all know what it is. The games are kind of slow right now because NCAA tournament, and then we're in the second half of the season where they're not playing as many back-to-backs. They're taking more days off because they have less games down the stretch before the playoffs. But my power rankings: Nets 1, Bucks 2, 76ers 3, Suns 4, Jazz 5. And we all know what the Nets are doing. The Bucks have won, if I'm not mistaken, they won 11 of their last 12. The Sixers last week were 3-1. And we know what the Suns been doing. We know what the Jazz been doing. And, the Clippers is a 6, but the Lakers are falling out because you got LeBron hurt and you have AD hurt. We don't know how long they're going to be out. We're going to see what's going to happen with those two. But NBA power rankings, that's what it is. We'll come back after March Madness. We'll talk more about the NBA. The next thing we want to talk is the NBA trade deadline. I mean, we got so many scenarios about people getting traded, who wants to get traded. I see Aaron Gordon from the Magic talk about he wants to be traded, but I don't get that, because he's not even the best player on the Magic, But you got names just coming up like Lonzo Ball. His name is coming up a lot. They saying that the Clippers need a point guard, and that might be a good spot for him because he's been playing really, really good basketball this year. And the Clippers really do need a point guard. They need a point guard because, I mean, Patrick Beverly is a point guard, but he's not the point guard that they need. He's more of a defensive-minded guy, not somebody who can set people up and all that good stuff. So I'm going to see what's going to happen with that. But they also had, the Clippers also had a mind on like George Hill from Oklahoma City and then Ricky Rubio. I wouldn't want Rubio simply because Rubio is that shot is kind of suspect. And so, I mean, you might as well stick with Patrick Beverly on that because, I mean, they're going to play off Ricky Rubio and they're kind of doing that to Patrick Beverly. But George Hill is totally different. I'm not saying that he's just this knockdown shooter and everything, but he can knock it down. And he's proven himself in the NBA. LaMarcus Aldridge is, his name has been brought up in trades, but a lot of people hoping that that the Spurs buy him out so they can just, pick him up off waivers and everything. And if the Spurs do buy him out, then the Heat are going to be the favorite to get him. Now, another name that's been coming up is Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry name has been popping up a whole lot, and they're saying that the Heat are really after him too. So I'm Andre, I'm gonna have to disagree with you because I don't want to see him in Toronto. I think if that's the case, then you'll be switching him and Kyle Lowry. I would like to see him in LA or somewhere else. Like, they said the Knicks might go after him, which I think the Knicks is finally starting to make some noise and decide if they, want to build a team the right way because they got some good pieces in New York right now. But Kyle Lowry, they saying that the Heat going to go after him. I don't know who they're going to give up. They were saying something about who were they talking about giving up? I can't remember who they were talking about giving up, but it was a couple of names and a couple of draft picks. I have to go back and look it up, but they were saying they was really going after Kyle Lowry and LaMarcus Aldridge. Not a fan of LaMarcus Aldridge, and I've never been. I think he's overrated. And then the Mavs are trying to sign Andre Drummond, and so the Mavs would really have to make a trade to get him. But if Cleveland buys him out, from what I'm hearing, that he's going to probably end up in with the Nets. But we'll see. I think Cleveland going to try to get something for him. And the crazy part is it's going to be a lot of craziness that goes on here in the next day or two with trades in the NBA because, trade deadlines. I'm hearing that the Lakers are trying to make moves and try to get rid of Caldwell Pope and Montrezl Harrell. I don't get it. Like, at one point in time, everybody was talking about how deep they were. They were the deepest team in the NBA now. They done lost a few games and things ain't going right. Oh, let's make some moves, But we'll see what happens. So, trade deadline is going to be crazy. And it's going to be a revolving door. So we're going to see what's going to happen. You're going to see a lot of stuff. It's a willing and dealing going on right now. They're getting some, some things worked out. It got to be, them contracts got to kind of, weigh themselves out. So we'll see what happened with that. And so NBA trade deadline, if we do have some trades, I'll post them. I might even get on and, do something live real quick and talk about it. So, but we're going to move on to our next topic. Our next topic is Shaka Smart. Is he a good or bad coach? Shaka took over VCU in 2009 after my brother, Eric graduated and Coach Grant, Anthony Grant, went to he accepted a job to Alabama. And he did a really, really decent job. They had a good coaching staff there, at VCU, and they made a run in 2011, made it to the Final Four. And I think it was just one of those runs where team got hot. They was knocking down shots. They were playing real good. And, a lot of things happened that, just happened and it worked out in their favor. And that led him to get the Texas job in 2015. So he won 20 games the first year in Texas. But his overall record is 270, 272 and 142. He's almost 66% win percentage as a coach. And it's crazy that I'm asking this question: is he a good coach or a bad coach? And this is what my take on it. My take on it is he's not a great coach. He's an okay coach. Because if you want somebody that will motivate guys and get them pumped up and ready to play, then that's the guy that you want. But if you want somebody that can do that and draw X's and O's, and when the game get tough, you can see that his coaching has done a lot for that team and players, then that's not your guy. And a lot of people say, well, he's winning, but that still don't make you a good coach because you win a couple of games. Because since he took that job in Texas, and this is what I say, VCU, have nothing against VCU, but when he first took over, VCU was in the what conference was the CAA, and they were playing against a bunch of mid majors, and that conference was strong with each other. So he won some games there, and then they moved to the A10, which you got some bigger name schools and everything like that. But they essentially went to Texas. In 6 years, they went to the tournament 3 years, and they have not won a tournament game up under Shaka Smart. COVID saved them last year because they was ready to get rid of him last year. They was really ready to get rid of him last year. And then this year, he just lost to Abilene Christian. And they shouldn't have lost that game. And people in Texas are calling for his head right now because they don't feel like he's getting the job done. And yeah, you can win games in the regular season. Yeah, you had that good run in 2011, but you can't keep living off 2011. That's 10 years ago. That's 10 years ago. Brian, you're exactly right. And that's what people fail to realize. They hire you to beat Kansas in the Big 12. That's the bar, especially with Texas having the biggest athletic budget in the country. That is the thing. And Brian, with that, Kansas had a down year. Just imagine what's going to happen when Bill Self reload and come back. Because, they had won so much they were due for a loss. And that's what they hire you for. And if he can't get that done year in and year out, and then get to the tournament and make a bid for a tournament and get some tournament wins, then I don't feel like you're a good enough coach for me. And again, I like Shaka because the guys that he had at VCU whenever they made that 2011 Final Four run. This is what people fail to realize. They all had the sort of kind of the same DNA. All of them were overachievers. A lot of people overlooked them, and they had a little chip on their shoulder. They had something to prove. And that's what happened in 2011. And since then, what really has Shaka done? Texas, he really struggled. They end up, winning this year, and then you lose to Abilene Christian in a game that you should have won. And it showed because you had 23 turnovers. You gave up 18 offensive rebounds. And a lot of people say, well, the players out there playing, but that's all on coaching to me. If I'm going out there turning the ball over, then that's on the coach. The coach ain't doing something right. And so with me, like I said, I like Shaka. I like the fact of where he came from, how he built himself, and got the coaching job. But as far as me, I don't think that he would be a guy that I would want to coach my son or to run my basketball program, unless I just want somebody who's going to keep guys hype and, not come up big whenever you really need to come up big. And that's been his thing. Turnovers has been bad for him. And like I said, they haven't won. He's been there 6 years, and you haven't won a tournament game. And most of the time, you've been the higher seed. And this year, to lose the way you lost, 23 turnovers, 18 offensive rebounds, and to lose like that, it's all on him. So, a lot of people will say, well, look at his record, 272 and 142. That don't mean a hill of beans to me, because there's a lot of coaches out here that's won a lot of games, but that don't make you a great coach. It don't make you a great coach, because you can win games, but can you get X and O's? I'll use an NBA coach for an example. Nothing against this guy, but and then the other thing Shaka does a good job of recruiting. His coaches do a good job recruiting, getting talent that can play up and down, force you to turn the ball over. And this is one thing I notice about him. Whenever he plays against teams that does the exact same thing that he does, they struggle. But I'll use this for an example. You got a coach in the NBA by the name of Scott Brooks. And Scott Brooks, coached the Oklahoma City Thunder for years. And he won a lot of games. Each year he was winning 50, 55 games. But it ain't had nothing to do with his coaching. He had KD, James Harden, Russell Westbrook. He had all those guys. And the year they went to the finals, they had a good team. And he's still living off of that. They don't make you a good coach because you win games. It all comes down to you being a good coach whenever you can draw X's and O's. When your team struggles defensively, you still able to stay in games. And then you can draw up plays to get your guys proper shots, not turn the ball over. And that's something that Shaka Smart doesn't do a good job of. And, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, I still feel like he would get another job because people are going to look at his record. They're going to think well, he can come up with another magical run. But I don't know if that Final Four run was him or was it a fluke. And that's just me. And whenever they made that run, I said it then. You get to the Final Four, where was he going to be able to draw up something? And they struggled, and he wasn't able to. And he's still doing the same. Yep. Brian, that's the question. Can you adapt with your personnel is the $1 million question in the story. If you can't adapt with it, then you got problems. And so last but not least, I'm going to move on to my final word. And my final word is this right here. Everybody has seen what has happened in the NBA with the Houston Rockets and Steven Silas. And I'll say this right here. The table should be reversed. I have nothing against Steve Nash. I think he's done. I've talked to this with me and some of my friends and my brothers, and I told them, like, I think he's doing a phenomenal job over in Brooklyn. But whenever you come in as a first-year coach, you don't have any coaching experience. He should be in Houston and putting up with this bullshit that Steven Silas is putting up with. Steven Silas put in 20 years as an assistant coach in the NBA. 20 years to get a job, and when he get the job, a few weeks later they trade Russell Westbrook. 6 weeks later they trade James Harden. Now then they release Boogie Cousins. Then they trade PJ Tucker, and you got John Wall, who is coming off an injury. Then you have Victor Oladipo, who really doesn't want to be there. And he's really coming off an injury, and he's not himself either. And the sad thing about this is that this right here will go down on Steven Silas's resume, and he probably would never get a head coaching job again because they're going to hold this against him. And this has nothing to do with his coaching ability. Nothing to do with his coaching ability at all. Because he's been dealt a bad hand. And I don't give a damn who it was or who it is. They would not be able to coach their way out of this situation right here. Houston is in a mess. And, you know, they tried their best to start out with it and make James look bad in the process. James Harden look bad. And no, you can't put that on James because, I mean, he clearly said what he wanted. They knew the relationship was torn. They knew it was broken. And they could have handled that situation early. But, you know, this guy, 20 years, he come into a great situation thinking it was going to be great. You got two superstars in Russ and James. And lo and behold, you trade them away and you don't give him nothing. And there's nothing against the other guys on the team. But when you look at everything, it's bad. It's real bad. And I agree with y'all, Janet. It's bad. TC, the same thing. It's a terrible situation. And so at the end of the day, like, how do you justify this guy putting in 20 years? And he should be the guy over in Brooklyn with a ready-made championship team. That's what it's supposed to be about. And it's nothing, like I said, it's nothing against Steve Nash. I mean, he was given the job. He's doing a tremendous job. But what I'm saying is Steven Silas should have been in a situation like that with a team that can compete. With a team that can compete. And, you know, now they might fire him next year and try to blame it on him. And it's totally not his fault. I watched his press conference the other night, and I saw somebody that he was defeated. He was just a shell of himself. He didn't know what to say. He struggled with it because he knows that he's been dealt a bad hand. He knows he's been dealt a bad hand. And Brian, you ain't got to be quiet, bro. Go ahead and say what you're going to say. Yeah, say what you're going to say. Because at the end of the day, man, this guy has put in his time. He paid his dues. And then to get the job that he got, and now, you know, he's dealt a bad hand. And this is the way it's looked at. Got this hand, you better deal with it. Like, you know, and not only did, you know, you lose your players, they lost their GM. Morley went to the 76ers. So when this guy when he took the job, he was thinking that he had a decent team. Do you think that he would have took this job knowing that it was going to be in turmoil like this? No. I guarantee he would have stayed assistant for his 21st year. It's just not right to have this guy have to deal with the BS that he's dealing with right now. I hope that Houston does something right, because Houston is one of the bigger markets in the NBA. You got all your big markets in the NBA, and they should be able to attract some free agents, should be able to do some things right. Your bigger markets are, you know, LA, the teams in Texas, Chicago, New York, Boston. Miami's not a big market, but it's a market where a lot of people want to be. But Houston is one of the larger markets in the NBA. You mean to tell me they can't get nobody to come down there and play? Yeah, I mean, you got your draft picks and all that good stuff. And I hope they have a plan. And I hope that plan doesn't go, well, we pay Steven, we got Steven Silas. And Andre, I'm gonna check you on this right here. You wouldn't have traded Harden, you would have had to play out his contract. And if you would have did that, then the team would be in more disarray than what it is now. Because he had already shown that he wasn't going to play. Eventually, he would have started sitting out. You see how much weight he had that game. You seen how he wasn't shooting the basketball. You seen how he wasn't just showing up. So it was just going to be bad all around. So that wouldn't have played out for me. It wouldn't have. Yeah, and they do have picks, Andre. They do have picks. So, but picks don't mean anything, because so basically what you're saying is that they're going to get picks and they're going to start all over again. And once they start all over, then year 2 comes, and then year 3 comes, and they're still not winning, and then they get rid of him. Granted, he's going to get his money because, you know, he's guaranteed that. But at the end of the day, him trying to get another job is just not going to happen. Everybody's going to look at him, well, Steven Silas didn't do a good job in Houston. Who else could have did a good job in Houston? I mean, you got Phil Jackson, one of the best coaches ever coached, and he wouldn't have been able to do nothing with that team. Greg Popovich another. He wouldn't have been able to do nothing with that team. So it's heartbreaking to see Steven Silas go through what he's going through. And then with 21 years of experience and paying your dues and doing everything the right way and being an assistant coach and finally getting your turn, and then lo and behold, this right here happens. And like I said, nothing against Steve Nash, but the roles should be reversed. A first-year coach like him that has never had any coach experience shouldn't be on a ready-made championship team versus somebody who done put in 21 years, paid their dues, and they putting up with this right here. They finally won last night. They was on a 20-game losing streak. And it has nothing to do with Steven Silas. They just don't have the talent. Hopefully Houston makes it right, give this guy a chance. But we all know deep down inside what's going to happen. They're going to eventually say, oh, you're not getting the job done. Fire him, pay him the rest of his money. And then who else will hire him besides somebody wanting a good assistant coach? Because if I'm not mistaken, he was the one that was running Dallas's offense, and he had a lot to do with a lot. He's been in the NBA for a long time, and he's well respected. And I feel like if he had the talent, because you can't tell me that if he was over there in Brooklyn, that they still wouldn't be one of the favorites to win the NBA Finals. They still wouldn't be playing the way they playing. Trust and believe they would, because he would find a way. He would have the talent. So, that's my final word on that. I hope they work it out. I hope they get everything, together in Houston. It's just bad to see Steven Silas have to go through the turmoil and the mess that he's going through. And that's my final word today. And I just want to tell everybody who watched, who logged on, who participated in comments and everything. Just want to say thank you for checking it out. I'm gonna check the schedule for next Monday and see if I'm able to come on next Monday. If not, I'll keep everybody posted. It'll probably be on that Tuesday. I want to tell everybody have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you. Enjoy March Madness this weekend. Have a good one.